for the very latest on the Ukrainian situation, we can cross live to the Ukrainian capital of Kiev, where Arise correspondent Philip Crowther joins us now. Good afternoon, Philip. So is the Biden-Putin summit actually on, or do we need to be a little more cautious on this development?
Yeah, be cautious on that one, because the Kremlin has already put a little bit of doubt on that glimmer of hope that we all felt relatively late last night. Now, how this came together was essentially thanks to the French President Emmanuel Macron. He's been doing this shuttle diplomacy all day yesterday, a long phone call with the Russian President Vladimir Putin, then checking in with the likes of US President Joe Biden, then calling Putin again at around 2 in the morning. And from that stemmed that statement from the French presidency that there was interest, shall we say, for a meeting between Joe Biden and Vladimir Putin. Again, the Kremlin a little bit doubtful about that, saying that at this point, paraphrasing here, that the situation isn't quite right for such a meeting to take place. It really feels like that last-ditch attempt at diplomacy. We've said that before, if we're being frank, over the last 2 weeks or so, because it has always seemed like things have escalated further and further, more Russian troops on the borders with Ukraine and in an attacking position more by the day. But right now it does feel like that last gasp attempt. If the French president is getting involved, trying to get the Russian president and the US president at the same table. And by the way, at the same time, there have been calls here from Kiev from the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to meet with Vladimir Putin as well. He essentially said that it's up to Putin to choose a time and a place to meet, and that he'd also want a ceasefire to be implemented in eastern Ukraine right now. Now, the problem with all of that is that the response from the Kremlin to that idea of a meeting between Zelensky and Putin has been absolute silence.
All right, briefly tell us what the mood is like where you are in Kiev. Understands there have been more reports of shelling in eastern Ukraine.
Yeah, it's a long way away from here. It takes about a day's travel to get to the Donbass. That's in the southeast of the country, where there has been a war for 8 years now between the Ukrainian military and Russian-backed separatists. But the situation there, very volatile right now. That's where we've seen a serious escalation over the last 3 days or so. Increased shelling, at least from the separatist side toward the Ukrainian-held side. Some response as well, but there's a lot of back and forth between the two sides, saying that one is responsible or the other. Any which way, there have been a lot of ceasefire violations in that area. There is a ceasefire there right now, and there has been one for 7 years, in fact. But there are constantly ceasefire violations, but a lot more over the last few days. It can sometimes seem like that area is a long way away from the capital city where I am here in Kiev. There's been a war again for 8 years, and people have got used to it. They're a little bit stoic, tense, of course, as well. Tired of this war as well. But things have changed, of course, here in the capital. People here aware that US President Joe Biden has been the one with the clearest warning yet that the capital city could be a target for Vladimir Putin's troops. And the geographic reality here is that the war in the east is a long way away, but the border with Belarus to the north is not. 75 kilometers, more or less, from here to the border with Belarus, where there is an enormous amount of Russian troops and military hardware seemingly ready to invade Ukraine. That would be the quickest path to the capital city. And the fear really is that is one of the points that Russia might use to enter Ukraine.
Arise correspondent Philip Crowther, thanks so much for joining us on Newsday.